Hi, Parneet. Welcome to our platform and thank you for taking out the time to do this interview. And congrats on your selection to IIM Ahmedabad, Parneet.
Hi Ajay, thanks a lot for your wishes, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my experience also.
No, definitely we should be the one thanking because definitely these experiences that you people are sharing would be helpful to the future MBA aspirants. So, Parneet, take us through your journey. Where have you done your schooling? Where did you grow up? Your undergrad? And then at what point did you think that you should be going for an MBA?
Okay, so initial part of my childhood was spent in Nakodar. It's a small town near Jalandhar. So till 8th I was there. I was in ICSE school at that time. So in 8th class, my parents decided to shift to Chandigarh because of more educational opportunities that were present here, and we will be able to get more coaching. As at that time, the coaching infrastructure was not as good as it is today in Jalandhar or Ludhiana. So in 8th class, then we decided to shift to Chandigarh. After that, my ninth and 10th was done in an ICSE school in Chandigarh only. So in 10th, I decided there were two options in my mind actually, that whether I want to go for medical or whether I want to go for non-medical. But I didn't like biology. I I was not kind of person that who can cram things and remember them after that. So it was clear that I enjoy mathematics. I have little bit interest in automobiles also. So I decided that I will go with non-medical. So after that, I took non-medical, did my 11th and 12th from a CBSE school and took the coaching for IIT JEE. But I was not able to clear IIT at that time. So I got admission in PEC through JEE mains. After that, when I joined PEC, I've got more interested in extracurricular activities also, apart from the academics. Because in college, we usually have a lot of time that we can spend in societies or clubs. So if you are aware that there is a society known as Society of Automotive Engineers, you might have heard of it. If you know, many mechanical engineers are part of that. So in that society, I got myself, and after that it used to have a team of Formula SAE that used to build a Formula One vehicle that used to compete in Buddha International Circuit. So I got myself into the team, and we started designing and developing Formula One in the second year. So there I realized that the in the even in the technical projects, there are so many things that we have to manage, whether it's the time or finances or marketing. After that, in the third year, I became the head of the team. I became the vice captain. So I had to manage these things myself. I had to see that I divide the work properly to all the students. Uh, I am I am able to bring all the marketing if it's possible, because that was the toughest challenge for a college to get sponsorship from the corporates. And even to manage whatever finance we have to optimize the budget where to utilize that. So that got me into thinking that maybe I am interested in management. I'm developing some leadership skills, so maybe I should pursue my career in that side. And even at that time, I got my internship in a leading automobile company in Ahmedabad. So at that time, I was part of customer quality department. Even I observed there that people were dealing with technical things. We were like customer quality department used to analyze the failure of the parts that happened in the field, and after that they had to come up with the solution to stop that. But there are also more than technical skills, although the technical skills were prerequisite, but we were required to have proper managerial skills to manage all these things. So it was an eye opener for me that manager skills are required everywhere. So at the end of third year, in the back of mind, I had that I had to build my career in management, but I stopped myself and I focused on placement during that time. And after I got the placement, it was around in September that I got placed through campus in Hilti Group, and it was also a sales profile, sales and marketing profile. So after that, enjoying for a couple of months after getting placed, it came to me that no, now it's the right time to start thinking about my career, what I want to do in the future. And then I thought of, because management was already in back of my mind, so I decided that let's pursue CAT. So I started looking for coaching institutes, and I joined IMS Chandigarh in January 2019, because my job was going to start in June, and I wanted to complete my syllabus till June, so that after that I can only focus on mocks and side by side do my job. So, and that plan went right. I joined in January. The faculty was also good there, so I was able to complete my syllabus on time. And after even my joining got postponed to September, so that was also a blessing in disguise. I got more time to revise my concepts. So at the time I joined my company, my syllabus was complete, and after that I just focused on mocks and just kept revising the concepts that I felt in difficulty. And after that, on the November when I gave the paper, I knew that I will be able to score more than 170. When the answer key came, the scores were 196, and I knew that I will get the call from A and C at least. So after that, that was a tough decision whether to leave the job and prepare for the interviews or continue it with the job, because being in a sales profile is a very hectic job. You need to be available for other, because it was a B2B sales. Then if a business is facing any problem, then we have to be there for them. Even sometimes we used to get calls on Saturday or Sundays, and we had to attend it. So at that time I even talked to my mentor, I even talked to the manager to whom I was reporting, and they also understand the situation, and they also guided me that think what is best for you, and it's better to focus all your energy on one side rather than trying to manage both of the things simultaneously and then not able to do good in both sides. So at that time I decided to leave my job and prepare for the interviews, and it turned out well on May 8th.
Yeah. So Parneet, when you're giving your mocks for CAT 2019, what was, I mean, were you getting good scores? What was going through? Because sometimes you get good scores, maybe sometimes you get very low in particular sections. So how was it in your case? Were you scoring equally well in all the three sections?
No, I still remember my first mock score was 68. And in verbal, I was, because that was the very first mock I had given. So I was so confident in verbal that this is the correct answer, this is the correct answer. And at the last time, when the numbers came, my sectional marks in verbal was only around 10 or 11. So it was kind of shocking for me. So at that time, I realized that uh, although we are studying, but how important it is to give mocks properly and analyze them. So my first, I got around 68 in first, then in the second I got around 100, then again it fall to 90s. After fifth or sixth mock, my marks were consistently between 130 and 140. And it was around 10th or 11th mock that I got around 160. I was scoring then in the 160s line, and that gave me the confidence. And if I talk about the sections, then in DILR I was consistently scoring above 50 in all the mocks. But the main problem was the verbal, because I was not able to get little bit of accuracy also in that section. And in quant, because in an effort to score more and more marks, I used to solve the questions quickly, and I used to make very silly calculation mistakes. So, but after that, for quant particularly, I decided that instead of attempting 30 questions, I will try to attempt 26 questions, and but I will try to get at least 25 right out of them. And for DILR, my strategy was fixed that I have to give first 5 minutes to choose the sets that I have to attempt, and after that I have to attempt a minimum of 5 sets, and that should be with 100% accuracy. So these two sections, somehow I started scoring well. In verbal, still it improved very slowly because I started reading more. I already used to read newspapers, but after that I started reading editorials also. So after the editorials, I used to think what the author wanted to say, what could be the summary of this. So it had an impact on my verbal score also, but that was very slow. And at that time, I used to feel discouraged also, especially in the verbal section, because I used to think that somehow I will be able to get good scores in content DILR, but will I be able to clear the sectional cutoff also or not? Because minimum 85 is also 85% L is required according to all the colleges. Some require below it also, but 85 is the maximum that you require to clear the sectional. So at that time, obviously it was discouraging, but somehow I was able to made up my mind that I will not look at the scores now. I will just see where I have made the mistake, and I will just try to improve it. So I started solving 2 RCs every day after I was not getting good marks in verbal. And after that, the score started increasing. I still remember in my last mock, I got around 162. But 1 week before CAT, I hadn't solved any question related to CAT 2018 at that time. So I had thought that in the last I will solve CAT 2018 paper 1 and paper 2 both. So just 1 week before CAT, I solved both of those papers. I got 185 in paper 1, I think, and 193 in paper 2, which gave me a lot of confidence that okay, I can score now 190 plus. And the good thing was that in both of those papers, my verbal score was more than 60, which I never expected, because before that I was scoring only in 40s line. So that gave me confidence, and on the D day, so I knew that I had the caliber to score more than 190, and on that day I was able to.
So Parneet, when did you give your first mock? When did you give your first mock? During which month, if you
I
remember?
It was a SimCAT mock. It's around, I think it was around in last week of April.
Okay, from April till October, you saw your verbal ability score slowly increasing, but then it was not until you gave CAT 2018 that you got the actual confidence. But then you still did not give up. You kept on reading. You kept on reading editorials. I think that really makes a lot of sense, just to keep the things simple but keep on going. So, Pradeep, you started your preparation in Jan, attending the classes and all. Started giving your mocks in April. But then in September, I believe you started your job. Your job started, right?
Yeah. After that, I moved to Pune and my job started.
Yeah. So September, October, and November are like really important months for someone who is giving a serious attempt at CAT. And being in a sales role, it's not so easy. You have to attend to your calls. You have to be on your feet all the time. So how was it the 3 months before CAT, where you're also working? How was those 3 months starting from September till the time of CAT?
Actually, there is another thing in our company that when we get inducted into the sales role, so it's a technical sales role also. So we want so the person need to know everything about the technical equipment or technical products that we are going to deal with. So there is a test that they keep. We are given 1 month to study all the details, and after that there is a test that we need to qualify. Otherwise, we will have to repeat again. So I had to study that also, and I had to study my CAT syllabus also. So, but I decided that I will give at least 2 hours each on weekdays to my CAT preparation, in which I will solve one sectional test. And apart from that, I will solve RCs daily. So it used to be that one day I am solving sectional test of DILR, one day quant and one day verbal, with RCs going every day. So, and on weekends, I would give a full mock on Saturday and I will analyze it on Sunday. That was the schedule that I made. If I will not finalize something to do, then I will just procrastinating it to that I will give the mock next week, or I will do this after completing my job, or after completing the work that I have got at my job. So that's why I made a proper schedule and I followed it rigorously.
And that's really interesting, Panit. I think you just stick to the schedule, and then you made sure you're consistent enough that you're repeating whatever you're doing over and over again. And then also, really, it's very important that people give proper time to analyze the mocks. So, Panit, can you please elaborate on the importance of analyzing the mocks, because you've been doing it consistently, and I think really it helped you out in understanding where you stand.
See, only one can know about his strengths and weaknesses from after analyzing the mocks. Because when I analyzed my mocks, I realized that first thing was that in quant I was making very silly calculation mistakes. Like I used to analyze one thing, that this is the number that I have scored. If I had not made this silly mistake, because I had solved, my procedure was correct, my formula was correct. But this is something that I made the addition wrong, or I made the multiplication wrong, due to which it cost me 4 marks. So I used to analyze what is the marks that I have scored and what I could have done if I had not made this silly mistake. So after that, I realized that I had to increase my accuracy in quant. For DILR, still my performance was good, and for verbal, what many people also do and what I was also doing in the starting was that there are 5 RC passages, and there are verbal ability questions, out of which some are theta questions. So in theta questions, what is that? There is no negative marking. So people try to attempt all the theta questions and try to think that there is no negative marking. So I will attempt all the theta questions whether I have to leave the RC passages. The same thing I used to do. I used to attempt around 3 RC passages, and I used to then move to attempt the theta questions. But we don't realize that in the theta questions, there are so many answers available. In RC passages, there are only 4 options, but in the theta options, there are 24 possible combinations that can happen. So the chances of getting it right is very less for a person who is not so good in verbal ability. Who is good in verbal ability can easily ace it. So after analyzing it, that I am consistently attempting more and more verbal ability questions, but I'm still not able to get more marks out of it. So it was around in my 6th or 7th mock that I realized. So I was already practicing RCs at that time. So I thought that if I'm practicing more and more RCs, it makes sense to attempt all the passages, even if I have to leave some summary questions or some theta questions for it. So after that, in the mocks, I also decided to do that. And the one thing that got clear to me, whenever I used to attempt RC passages, I used to be more than 90% sure that this might be the answer. And my accuracy rating also increased. So this all can only be done after the analysis of the mocks. For other people, maybe the analysis will yield them a different result. They have, maybe someone have to increase their verbal ability attempt, or maybe someone is attempting more DI questions rather than LR questions, although his strength is LR. So this only can be done if one properly analyzes the mocks. Then he can find the problem that he's facing, and then only he can increase his marks. Otherwise, there is no use of just giving the mocks and then consistently getting the same score and not learning out of it, not learning anything out of it.
I mean, that really makes sense, Panit. I think very well said. I mean, whenever it comes to CAT, I think we all discuss about strategies and all. But then the actual thing is that, like Panit said, you have to analyze it, and then some things work out for you, some things don't work out for you. So even if Panit says something about himself, and if you literally take it, might not be applicable. So just read between the lines, see what he's actually trying to say. I mean, very well said about analyzing the mocks and then trying to understand, because like very well said about the VARC section. Like a lot of people make the mistakes thinking that we'll be able to score over here, and then sometimes we might even leave an easy passage. That might also happen in many cases. So make sure you're iterating your processes. Make sure you're understanding. So Panit, you've given your CAT, and then there is a gap between your CAT and then your results. But then you understand by seeing our I mean, I think the key is out maybe within some 1 week or 10 days, and then you see. So did you start your WAT and PI preparation from that point, or you waited for the results to come out?
No, actually, even the CAT official key was released after 1 week this time. The paper was on 24th November and the key was released on 30th November. So after that, I got my marks. I talked to my mentor also, and even so I discussed with him that this is the marks that I have got. So I was expecting that I will get the calls from the top IIMs, at least A or C, and I knew that B will be difficult because of their criteria. And apart from that, L and K should also come because I have good CATs also. And at that time, for the VAT PI preparation, I only started reading more and more. I didn't start any of, like, I didn't write why MBA questions or anything else. I just started reading more and more to prepare for the VAT part, so that there is proper general awareness for me when I go to a PI room or when I go for VAT attempt. After that, in Jan, the classes also started in my coaching in Chandigarh. So at that time, for the new year, I had come to my home. So at that time, I attended those GDPI sessions in the coaching class only. And there I started to discuss with my mentor how to proceed for the PIs. And after that, we discussed that I have to leave my job. And after that, I left the job on 31st Jan. So till 31st Jan, I was not able to study much about VAT PI. I was only able to study about general topics and some technical subjects that I needed to focus on. Because being a fresher, I knew that they might not go about my work ex, but they will ask much questions about my technical subjects, as there was only less than a year gap between me graduating. So after 31st Jan, I started giving mock PIs. After that, the mock PIs, I started to, means I and my mentor used to sit and analyze what mistakes I am doing, what are the things that I can improve upon. And side by side, I still used to do bit of writing. I used to write one essay each day in limited time, so that I can attempt it during the day, during the interview day. And my Ahmedabad interview was on 14th Feb, so it just gave me 14 days to prepare for the interview. And that was also the reason that maybe the confidence was also high, because when there is a lot of gap between the preparation and the interview, then you start questioning yourself also. There are doubts that whether you will be able to do or not. So it was just a matter, it was just a span of 14 days. And I think I was more confident than giving that interview rather than giving the Calcutta interview that happened on 2nd May. So the confidence level was really different between those 2 days.
So I think Ahmedabad was your first interview, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So how was it like? Were you feeling nervous because at that time I think you already left your job. I think just 2 weeks back. So how was it on the day of the interview for you for Ahmedabad's interview?
On that day, there was little bit of nervousness. That's definitely when you enter the room and you see there are so many people who are studying something. Somewhere, someone had made the notes of the technical subjects. They were revising the formulas to calculate the bending moment. So it increases the nervousness more. But luckily, my interview number was also around third or fourth. So after the AWT, I just went to the interview room, as we were made to sit outside, because the two students need to be outside the room to be ready to go in. So at that time, yeah. And what happened that the first two people that had gone for the interview, they came out and they said they are asking so many technical questions to us. So, and I also then started preparing for it, sitting outside the room, that I was realizing that they asked me about the design of this thing or design of this component. And I went inside, and after that, they didn't ask me a single technical question. My whole interview went on my work ex, maybe because of sales and marketing, although it was just a 4 months work experience. It started with like, why did you leave your job? Is it the correct decision? And after that, they started asking, what is your job profile? What have you done? And then whole interview went around my work experience. And after that, some general awareness questions. So they didn't ask me a single technical question. And that also made me little nervous after the interview, that they are asking so many technical things to other people. And their interview lasted for about 40 minutes. And my interview just lasted about 20 minutes. So what have I done wrong? Have I done something exceptionally well, or have I just busted the best chance? And but when the result came, I realized that the duration of the interview doesn't matter at last.
Yeah, I think I mean happens with a lot of people. I cannot actually guess the result after the interview. Sometimes there will be a high chance that the interview might go well according to us, but then the result might be coming otherwise. So, Parneet, there was a considerable amount of gap between your A interview and the other interviews you were giving, and then as per the experience that you had, you felt that it did not go that great. So, did it affect your confidence while you're giving other interviews? How did you come out of this and try to give your best for other interviews as well?
So after the interview, I knew, when I discussed with my mentors also, so they also said that it has been a good interview. They tried to give me confidence actually, uh, but I was not able to accept it. So I started focusing that, because before that I had made the point that these are my top 5 best calls. Although I was giving interview for each and every college, because I was free at that time, and I wanted that as Calcutta is my last interview, so I should get as many experience as possible. Because if I am not able to convert A, at least I should be able to convert C. So because of that, I started focusing on each and every interview. In between, L interview also came, which was also on my top 5 list, that if that will be converted, and if that is only chance, that I will join it. Apart from the top 5 interview, I am not going to join any other college, but these are the colleges that I'm going to join. So I started focusing on that, and I means it was difficult, because after the A's interview, at least for 1 week, I was just thinking that maybe I have missed my chance. But after that, it was really difficult to make up my mind that, okay, this interview is now done. Now let's focus on other interviews and try to convert them. At least if I will convert them, I will not have any regrets of leaving my job also and doing MBA this year.
So, Parneet, you were also given ZAT and you got a very good score in ZAT. I think it was 99.86, I believe. So, how did you specifically prepare for the DM section and just take us through your ZAT journey as well? Were you using the time after CAT to rigorously prepare for XAT?
Actually, I didn't prepare for DM section at all. I just I just gave around 2 mocks in December. In that, I just read an article that how to solve DM questions. So even basically the DM questions are very subjective. You can't create a strategy to attempt it. It's just that what you feel in your mind is right and what is ethical also, because it is not causing any loss to your company and neither it is causing any effect on your moral values. So I just my quant and verbal was already prepared and DILR also. So I just went with the flow. I still remember that I even forgot that my Z paper was coming, and just one day ago, I realized that tomorrow is my paper, and I got to a printing shop and got my admit card for printed. And after that, I just went to give the paper with a very relaxed mind. After that, even the answer keys were released by the institutes. In that, I was getting a very bad DM score. And after that, when the Z answer key was released, it was completely different than the what institutes have released. So that only tells us that DM section is how much subjective it is and how we can't tell that whether we have done it good or bad, because all 5 options can be the answer. And there is no algorithm or there is no strategy to say that even we can't say that these 2 are the correct ones, or means one of them can be correct one. All 5 can be the correct ones. So it depends on the at last on the Z and the person himself whether those 2 answers match or not.
I think rightly said, Parneet. I think many people who have been asking me about the XAT DM section. I think you just make sure that you're thinking from all the perspectives and that you're thinking about all the stakeholders which are there in the question, not causing negative effect on any of them for the decision that you're taking. Because at the end of the day, when you're managers, you need to take a lot of decisions, which will obviously might be having a negative effect at a different extent to all those things. I think that's where XAT is trying to test the people upon. So, like Pani said, there is no particular strategy, but then make sure you're clear in your thinking. You're able to think clearly on all those aspects, and that's how you can go ahead with the DM section. So, Parneet, I believe that our undergrad college and the kind of exposure you had over there plays a very important role. So, how did PEC shape you up as a person, and what kind of effect did you have? I mean, have it have? Did the college have on you?
Uh, when I was part of the college, I have already said also that I was part of a society. I was also the vice captain, and in my last year, I was captain of the team. And apart from that, I was also the joint secretary of the society. So this gave me a lot of insight about how to manage teams, how to manage you can say a small organization, because uh, in that you get a glimpse of each and every vertical that is involved in MBA, whether it's managing resources, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing. So that gave me a lot of confidence, and most of my interviews, even my campus placement interview, went around my stint as captain only. They kept asking me questions: what have you done in your team, how did you improve this particular situation? And that gave me a lot of confidence also to answering that questions. And they also give the interviewers an idea that this person has been through it and he has done it, and so he will be an asset for our company or our institute. So I believe that's why extracurricular activities are so important. It helps you build leadership skills. It gives you confidence also. Like I was not so good in public speaking, but when I used to have team meetings or I used to meet with them and I had to convey some message, so it helped me in developing those things also.
I think very well said, Farid. I think for the kind of experiences that you have at your undergrad college helps you understand what you're good at, what you're bad at, so that you can improve upon certain things, because that's when you actually have the time. For example, even if you take the case of Farid, even if you wanted to continue, it would have been very difficult being in a sales role and then learn all these things if he had known about those things while he was in job. But since he was doing similar kind of things in his undergrad as well, leading teams and all, that kind of becomes easy for you to understand yourself. Expose yourself to different things, get that exposure, get out of your comfort zone, try to lead teams, try to interact with different people. It gives you a different perspective, and it will help you in the overall run, not just for your interviews and all these things per se, but then even when you're doing your MBA, definitely these kind of experiences would help you a lot. So, but especially during these times, the role of friends, the encouragement that you get from your friends, family, or mentors is really important. So, take us through that. What kind of friends support you got from your friends, family? You already mentioned the kind of support you had from your mentors. So, please take us through that.
Oh yeah, I think the signal, it was just because of the bandwidth. Now now I am audible and visible.
It's fine. It's fine. You can. I mean, it's completely fine now, Parnit.
Okay, can you repeat the question? Actually, I was not able to hear the full question.
Oh, I'm really sorry. So I was just asking you the kind of role that your family, friends, and your mentors played in your success.
Uh, the I think they all played an important role because my parents and my sister even backed me that I can leave my job and there I can prepare for the interview, because you need this kind of backing from your family. Then only you can make a tough decision of leaving a well-paid job, and after that at that time when the coronavirus has just started, because I left my job around 31st Jan, and after that in February there were things coming that uh, there were the headlines that now coronavirus is going to hit India also, and we knew that the economy might be interrupted. So at that time it was very difficult. But my family backed me completely, and they told me that whatever you feel right, you can do, and we will be with you. And even whenever I used to do revise my technical questions, so it was because of my friends that they used to be on call with me. They used to teach me all the things that we have done in engineering that I may not have studied properly at that time in my second year or third year. They were not teaching me those things. So they used before each interview, uh, they would be on phone call with me, and they would tell me how to solve this question and if this derivation is asked, because each each aspirant used to share his interview experience, and out of them, those who were mechanical engineers, I used to take out the questions, the technical questions that they have been asked, and after that I used to send it to my friends, and they used to solve it and send it to me back. I didn't used to waste my time on solving those questions or finding the solutions what it can be. So that was left to my friends, and they completely supported me at that time. They were always available, even from their uh, whenever I used to feel trouble, I used to call them, and they used to be in offices, and still they used to pick the call and help me at that particular time. And
Really?
my
Yeah, please carry on.
and even the mentor Kapil sir also supported me a lot. Uh, Whenever means after giving each interview, I used to call him. I used to discuss the interview with him that this particular point I feel that it was wrong. Uh, how much and I would straightly ask him how much point would it cost me, whether this point will completely reject the would completely lead to reject me, or will they still accept me after this. But he used to be always positive, and he used to say that now this interview is done, so he used to encourage me to focus on other interviews rather than thinking about it. Whatever the result will come, we will see at that time.
I think, yeah, very well said, Pandit, and very interesting perspective. I mean, that's what have a good support system when you're in this
Yeah.
journey, because, like you said, he will not be able to afford all the time again going back and reading all his subjects. But then having good friends who can be supportive to you during those times really helps. It kind of fastens your process of preparation so that you can focus on other things like maybe your PI questions, maybe current affairs and all. So that's a really interesting take, taking help of your friends to again revise your accounts. That's a very interesting take, Panit. So, Panit, what advice would you have to someone who is like you've been through the path just a year ago? People would be in the same path now, preparing for CAT 2020. So, what other advice that you would like to give to them?
I would just like to say to them that first of all, maintain a constant confidence and have self belief in yourself, because like I gave my example also, whatever you score in mocks doesn't matter. Only what matters is what you score on your D-Day. So for that, you need to have self belief that you can do it. Meanwhile, give as many mocks as possible, but don't be disheartened by the score that you are getting. Instead of that, just analyze the mocks and just see where you are making the mistakes, and then try to correct them as soon as possible, and don't repeat them again and again. Then only it can be done. It's not that you are scoring 200 in your mocks and there is no guarantee that you will be able to score 200 in your CAT also. And it's vice versa also. If you're scoring 120 in mocks, there is still a lot of chance that you can score 200 in your CAT. Only thing is you need to have confidence, and you need to revise your concepts, and apart from that you need to know where you are making a particular mistakes, and try not to make those mistakes again and again, and especially in CAT.
Very well said, Paneet. Thanks a lot, Paneet, for taking out the time, sharing your story and insights, and all the best to you, Paneet.
Thank you, and the best to you too for your future.
Thanks a lot.